If you want to have a healthy, sustainable lifestyle, how do you measure your progress on the way there? How do you know if you've made it? How do you know that you're actually making progress? Because a lot of the times when we think about our fitness journey, we think about either before and after pictures, we think about measuring our progress with the scales, with body composition, we think about our PRs, we think about our clothing size, we think about these other things that can change in the outside world, but I, as you know, like to think about also what's changing on the inside world, because that's the progress, that's the inner work that is actually going to make you consistent when you can see who you are is changing, but also that you are who you say you want to be. So today I want to give you a couple tangible skills to add to your toolbox to help you measure the progress on your fitness journey, because yep, you can totally see the progress in getting faster, like running a faster mile. Today I ran a 5K test of the community track workout, and that was so fun. And yeah, I'm getting faster and I'm proud of that. And I'm also really proud of the fact that I'm showing myself and giving myself evidence that I've ran so much every week throughout the past year, and I'm getting faster, and I'm proud of the consistency, and I'm proud of who I'm becoming. And I'm going to dive into more of like the internal things, but again, we can totally celebrate the fact that one, that our body's changing, two, that we're getting faster, three, that we're getting stronger. But those are not the only ways to measure progress, and I think that's a huge reason why we burn out. That's a huge reason why we get tired of, continuing on. We get tired of following through with the plan because it's not getting us to where we want to go sufficiently fast enough. We're not seeing the progress that we want to see. And we give up, and then we look for a new shiny object. We look for a new opportunity, a new plan. We look for something else that's going to provide us with that quick dopamine. And I want to address that today. So if you were taking notes and you like taking notes, here is a list of skills that we can work on that I'm going to dive more into. Okay, I want to talk about these two skills first because you probably have never thought about them when thinking about your progress on your fitness journey. And that is, one, the ability to handle discomfort, and two, your ability to handle boredom. Why do I want to talk about these? Because your ability to handle discomfort is not only something that is going to come up when you're exercising, that's not only going to come up when you are dealing with thoughts around food, but also in relationships, in business, in life, in confrontation, in conversations. This is a life skill that we're building through fitness. And when we understand that, and when we think about our ability to, okay, I'm feeling discomfort, I'm feeling feelings that I don't want to feel, what do I do? Because when you can recognize that, when you can take like the big picture view and you can see yourself in the situation that you're in, and you think about, what is the story that I want to tell here? How do I want to react to this? How would I want to react to this? One of the ways that you can measure your ability to handle discomfort is the time it takes for you to react to it. Let's say that you're in line at a store, immediately you're bored. How quickly do you grab your phone to scroll? Can you delay that reaction? Can you delay it the whole time? Can you just sit with your thoughts that come up? Or let's think about that in terms of a fitness example. You are doing a workout and you are lifting weights, and already at rep 3, it's getting really tough. Rep 4, you're like, all right, I'm done. Can I do rep 5? Okay, I do rep 5. And it's getting really uncomfortable. Can you handle the discomfort and the thoughts that tell you to quit? And can you do it until you get to 8 or 10 or whatever you're supposed to get to? Can you do it even though you feel uncomfortable, even though it's tiring, even though you want to be done? Can you do it anyway? Because that, again, is an internal skill that is going to change the way that you live your life. Not just change the way that you show up in the gym or show up in your runs, but it's going to change the way that you live your life and interact with people and interact with yourself. To that point, the second one there was sitting in boredom. Think about how often people are like, I don't know how you run. Like, that must be so boring. Well, I would like to argue that that's probably one of the things that I like about running, because it's taught me how to be bored in a way. I used to never, ever be able to run without headphones or music, but now I've learned to enjoy it. Do I do it all the time? No. But there was a time where it was like the thought of being alone with my own thoughts for 30 minutes or more. I would get so bored. What would I think about? What would I do? Actually, there's so much to think about. There's so much to do. There's so much to explore up there. And so when you give yourself the opportunity to be bored, there's a lot that can come from that, and you might never know that unless you're thinking about giving yourself those opportunities. Think about how often we habit stack. If you don't habit stack, that means that you take something that you do. Let's say that you are wanting to listen to a podcast, but it's just never time to do it. Well, then do it when you're folding your laundry. Do it when you're taking out your dishes, okay? That's what habit stacking is, where you compare something you want to do with something that you already do. I love that, and it's so helpful. Sometimes I think I do that a little bit too much, because not only am I listening to my podcast while I'm cleaning my kitchen, but also cooking dinner, and then I'm thinking about emails, and then I'm writing these notes, and then I'm like all over the place. I take it a little bit too far. I'm doing too much at once, and so I really need to sit with myself and be like, whoa, like why can't I just like do one thing? And being able to slow down, that to me has been a win. That's been like a skill that I've added to my bucket, is not always needing to be busy, not always needing to be productive, not always need to have a result to show for the work that I'm doing. I can just be present, I can do the work that I need to do, and I can just do the one thing. That is a way of measuring progress on your fitness journey. Another way of measuring progress is how you actually feel. Why does this one get overlooked so much? I don't know. But if the goal is to be healthy, to be fit, to feel good, are we thinking about that when we're thinking about our progress? Or am I doing enough? Or am I getting to where I want to go? Are you actually feeling good throughout the day? Do you wake up and feel energized? Do you wake up and feel completely groggy and have brain fog? Do you want to get rid of that? Okay, well then let's focus on the skills and the habits and the actions that will help you get rid of that. Do you have energy crashes midday? Well, again, let's address that. Let's think about nutrition. Let's think about your habits. Let's think about sleep. Let's think about exercise. Let's think about all these other things that might be playing into it to help you actually feel better. Because again, your healthy lifestyle is not just a finish line. It's not a finish line that we want to cross. This is our whole life. This is a lifestyle. And that's how you're going to be consistent, is instead of seeing your fitness as these constant finish lines, as these constant challenges to end, these constant races to do, weights to lift, pounds to drop. As soon as it's less about that and more about your lifestyle and what you're adding to your life, your ability to say yes to adventures. If you want to go and run a 5K, you can. You want to go climb a mountain, you can. You want to be independent and go travel and lift your luggage above your head, no problem, not needing anybody else. You want to be able to do that? Great. Let's think about how we can make it a lifestyle instead of constantly putting these finish lines behind it. And again, that comes to how are we feeling? Because how you feel today, this is today. All we have is today. We don't have yesterday. We don't have tomorrow. We don't know if the healthy lifestyle that we think we want is actually going to make us happy, but we know it can make us healthy and happy right now. So I want you to think about that. How am I feeling throughout the day? Is my digestion good? Am I getting enough fiber to where I have regular bowel movements every morning? Maybe like a couple times a day. How are we doing in that department? That's something to address as well. Another thing is the ability to honor your hunger and fullness. I would have never thought about this as a way of measuring progress, because I used to just think about, oh, am I eating whole foods or am I not? Am I good or am I bad? Am I eating the 80-20? Am I balancing it that way? That's a good way of thinking about it, or the 70-30, or, having the nutritious foods and the foods that are not as nutritious, but they still serve a purpose. How am I doing in that department? I used to think about it like that, but when we think about also navigating your hunger and fullness as you being on the same team as your body. If you listen to the last episode on the podcast about how to stop hating your body, I talk about the approach of actually being on the same team as your body, because you both are just trying to survive. Your mind is trying to keep you alive. Your body is trying to keep you alive. And when we actually recognize that, how can we then support our body into doing its job to keep us alive, to help us have energy, to help us have strength, to help us go throughout our days with ease, instead of it being so hard to be consistent or hard to go throughout our daily lives. So that's another thing to think about, is am I able to honor my hunger? And to give you an example of this from my own personal life, I remember that it was really hard at first to honor my fullness. Let me give you a couple examples. I used to always feel the need to clean the plate, especially if I was on vacation or at a spot where I would never have this food again. A lot of the Last Supper mentality, oh, I'm going to get back on track on Monday, so I might as well make the most of it throughout the weekend and then eat better later, things like that. And I remember that I saw a reel, I think, where they talked about how if you want to practice honoring your fullness out to eat, you need to practice at home. So notice when you're at home and you're like, okay, I'm pretty satisfied, I'm full. If I check in with myself and if I take a few more bites, I'd probably be overstuffed. Even if that's 3 bites that you could easily finish, practice in that moment, putting it away, and you can eat it later when it's going to taste better, when you're going to be hungrier for it, when you're going to enjoy it more. When you can show yourself that at home, it's way easier to apply out in the real world. Again, all these skills, if we can apply and do the internal work, it's going to play out in our daily lives and help us to be these unstoppable people, the dream person that we want to be in the real life. So that's something to think about. And I remember the very first time that I did that, it took practice. I would say months and months of practice. Don't get me wrong, it's not just like, oh, all of a sudden I'm full and that's going to solve my problem. It's a constant skill and muscle that you need to work. And I just remember over time, like, oh man, you know what? I'm satisfied. Like, I can put this away. I don't have to finish it, and I can come back to it later when I want it. And then when I come back to it later, it tastes way better. I'm way more hungry for it. I'm like happy about it. So that's just a skill to think about too, because that's one way of honoring your body. That's one way of actually living a healthy lifestyle now, is those healthy habits. A couple other skills that I want to talk to you about as well is your ability to stick to things when it gets tough. Your ability to navigate the messy middle and to continue to go through when it gets boring, when there's no one cheering you on, when the novelty is worn off, when you've already told people you're going to run the race and no one's asking about it anymore, and now you actually have to train for it. You said that you want to build a business and you think that it's going to change your whole life, this new opportunity, you go after it, but now you're a month in and now it's time to get into the gritty work. Can you do that work? That is another measure of your progress, is your ability to be consistent and resilient. Alongside that is your ability to pick yourself back up after off days, off weeks, off moments, instead of making it mean like your whole progress is lost. The day is ruined because you ate something. Your fitness progress is lost because you went on vacation. Instead of sinking into that valley, that you pick yourself back up and you realize that I might not have been perfect, but today is what I have, and I'm going to work with what I got today, and I'm going to do the minimum necessary to create that momentum again, those 1% wins, and I'm going to stack them over time, and that's going to help me get the ball rolling again to where I'm at a good spot. The last skill that I want to share with you is just this perspective shift of, instead of focusing on the high ceilings, that we focus on the floor, which is one way that we are being 1% healthier. So Steve Magnus, he wrote How to Win the Inside Game, and here's what his post says. He says, "We often obsess over the ceiling. How fast can I run? What's my personal best? But the long-term growth comes from raising the floor. How you perform on your average days is the stacking of solid days." Don't believe me? I tracked it in runners. I'll put the graph on the screen. But there is a comparison of bad days, okay days, and good days. And you'll see that at the beginning, the bad days were 21%, okay days 47%, and good days 31%. At the end of the study, the bad days were only 7%, the okay days were 57%, and the good days were the same at 31%. So instead of raising those good days, he actually decreased the bad days and increased the average days. So here's what he said about that. When I compared high and low improvement in runners, it wasn't that those who improved a lot had more good or great workouts, it's that they had less bad. Their average day was better. They stacked solid days for months on end, rarely having an off or a bad day. Ceiling days are rare. They happen when everything aligns. Great sleep, perfect weather, motivation is sky high. You feel unstoppable. But what about the other days? The days where you're tired, stressed, or not feeling it. That is where your floor matters. Raising the floor means that you're not just focusing on the PR, but how you raise your average performance. What can you show up and do almost no matter what? Can you write 1,000 words without any inspiration? Can you put in 8 miles on most days? Elite performers don't just have higher peaks, they have fewer valleys. They don't need perfect conditions to show up and deliver. their range is tighter. Think of it this way. You don't win championships or produce great work by having one great day. You win by having a lot of good days. You win by reducing the gap between your best and your worst, by shrinking the distance between I crushed it and I got through it. This means don't chase PRs, instead chase consistency. Don't let perfection derail you. Your B+ days are good enough if stacked for a long time. So, how can you set up your environment to allow you to be pretty good most days of the week? Because raising this floor isn't just for sport, it applies to writing, to business, to parenting, to relationships, everything. It is about increasing your reliability and your depth so that even when the inspiration isn't there, the quality still is. And that is how professionals operate. So set the ceiling, yes, set it high, dream big, but focus your energy on the floor because that is where the transformation happens. Because when your worst gets better, your best becomes inevitable. Raise the floor and the ceiling will take care of itself. How cool is that, right? When you focus on increasing your okay days, we're not just chasing the PRs, but we're chasing the ability to show up, to put in work, to do at least the minimum viable, to at least read a paragraph, to at least do 5 minutes, to at least do something to move the needle forward. That increases your good days and decreases your bad days. You are decreasing the distance between your low valleys and your high mountains. When you do that, you're able to be much more grounded. You're able to move through your progress a lot more. And that really is what 1% Healthier is about as well, is that we are doing the small things to create the momentum which creates the big change. Because on that graph, you will see that the good days are like the literal same, but the transformation happened in the difference between the bad days. And that's what we're after, is changing ourselves so that not only are we becoming a better person, but we're decreasing, again, the need for distraction, the need for boredom, the need to have habits that don't serve us anymore. Because I need you to know that every habit that you have would not repeat itself if it did not serve a purpose, if it did not make your life more efficient. And if you want to change a habit, we have to understand the function that it is serving. What is the habit giving you? What does mindless eating actually give you? If we were to talk about that, you want to get out of a rut of mindless eating, what does that habit actually do for you? Because it's not about the food, and it's not that you need to not eat the food anymore. It's that we need to figure out what is it serving you, and then how maybe like this is a whole topic that we could go into, but think about your whole day. It's not just in the moments of late night snacking. It's everything that led up to that, right? Especially if you're trying to be good all day and then all of a sudden like you had a really tough day at work and you just want to do something mindless, right? Again, your ability to handle the discomfort that you're feeling. Can you delay the reaction to it? Can you react in a different way? Can you regulate yourself? These are all things that I want you to think about when you are measuring your progress on your fitness journey, because you are not a before and after photo. You are a living, breathing human. And if you genuinely want to be consistent, we have to have goals that are not just finish lines. Our brains love to start things. We love the dopamine rush of thinking that we're getting somewhere, but then when the novelty wears off, then we fall off and become less consistent, and then it's harder to follow through. And then that erodes your self-confidence and your self-trust within yourself, because then you think that you're a person that can't follow through and you don't stick to your word. I want you to think about when you measure your progress this way, where can we stack days? Where can we stack 1% wins so that way you're building evidence? Confidence is the ability to trust the evidence that you've provided your brain. Okay, so we need to stack even the little efforts that you're putting in on your fitness journey, whether that's you're going to start journaling, whether that's you're going to start adding in fiber so that you feel better, whether that's you're going to start adding in more protein, whether you're going to go on more walks, you're going to get in more steps, you're going to drink more water. Whatever it is that you're going to start doing, you're going to do the smallest amount possible. And then when the smallest amount possible becomes who you are, it becomes a part of your identity, it becomes a part of your daily life, then it increases over time. Those good days add up, the bad days go down, you become more consistent. So after this episode, I want you to think about, what is this skill that I want to start measuring my progress by? Is it that I want to handle discomfort better, sit in boredom better, think about my default habits, my default days, my digestion, how I'm feeling, my journaling, my self-talk, my hunger and fullness, my ability to stick to things when it gets tough, my ability to get back up after an off day? Am I having fewer valleys? Which one of those skills, if not all of them, are we going to start adding to our toolbox on how we measure our progress? If this was helpful for you and you want to share to have some accountability, you can comment on Spotify or YouTube. What's the skill that you want to work on? And if one of the skills that you want to work on is actually being able to be consistent, you want to be unstoppable, you want to create results that last, you want to stop giving up on yourself, I created a free training on how to be consistent so that way you stop giving up on yourself. The secrets that you need to know to be consistent and to change who you are so that way you can create a healthy and sustainable lifestyle. That you will find in the description box below. It's a 20-minute training. It is exclusive to those that sign up for it. Again, you can find it in the Spotify description or on YouTube or Apple. And if you are loving the 1% Healthier podcast, please follow the podcast, leave a 5-star rating and review. You can also leave a comment as well. That just shows other people that this podcast is worth listening to and helps us invite more guests on the podcast as well. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening. I hope that you crush it today. I hope that you remember to live today. Today is your healthy lifestyle. Today is where you can make progress happen. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, today. And I'll see you in the next one.